Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the IPEM AGM. Thank you very much for giving up your evening from now to hopefully an hour, maybe a little bit more, to discharge this important governance moment for us in our calendar. Just a couple of housekeeping points from me before we hand over to Anna Barnes. But I'm Phil. I'm the Chief Exec of IPEM. And just to say, the meeting is being recorded. So the votes will be taken in order that are on the agenda. There will be a vote on the matters arising, on the minutes from the previous meeting, a vote on the appointment of the auditors, and a vote on the appointment of the Board of Trustees. At each point, there will be a screen that pops up on your screen, which will give you the opportunity to vote, and the votes are in favour, not in favour, or abstain. So if you could look for those opportunities when they pop up, and otherwise, there is the chat function to raise any questions, or if you would like to speak from the floor, please ideally wait for the opportunities to ask questions or to speak from the floor when the chair invites you, but use the raise hand function to signal that you would like to speak. Thanks very much. Anna, would you like to kick off the meeting?
Welcome, everybody. I'm glad there's so many of you joining at this time. So we're going to start with the meeting agenda. So we begin with apologies for absence. Phil, would you like to read out the apologies?
Thank you. We've had apologies from Professor Mark Tooley, Angela Newing, Ian Kirby, Elizabeth Macaulay, Jonathan Fowler, Paul White, Peter Jackson, Richard Reynolds, Keith Strawn, although I think he's hoping to join us if he can, and Carl Rowbottom.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is the minutes of the 29th annual general meeting held at 4 o'clock on Thursday, the 29th of September last year. These are included in the meeting pack and are available via the IPEM website. Oh, Keith is here, Phil. Please, can I have any changes or amendments for the minutes? And then please, can you vote using the poll that will shortly appear on your screens to accept the minutes of the 2023 AGM. Can I just check, Phil, that it's correct that I don't have a vote button on my screen?
I don't know why that would be. I do have one. I don't know why you wouldn't have one, Anna.
I don't have one too.
Co-hosts don't have a vote button because they can see it as it's live. They can see the results as it's live.
Thanks for explaining. Thank you.
Okay.
There's a few more coming in. Okay, I'm going to assume that the voting is finished now. That's 27 out of 42 participated. Would that be correct, Lauren?
That's correct.
Okay, wonderful. So that's 74% in favour of accepting the minutes. 7 have abstained.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Right. Number 3, agenda. Matters arising from the 29th annual general meeting not covered elsewhere. There are no actions recorded in the minutes, so there are no specific matters arising. So we can move swiftly on, as Phil already has. So here we're going to talk about the appointment of BHP as the Chartered Accountants as auditors to the Institute of Physics and Engineering in Medicine, group of companies in accordance with Section 487, Part 2 of the Companies Act 2006, etc., etc. The item is an important formality, although we have an agreement with BHP, which runs for a few more years yet. But at the AGM, we are required to agree to them auditing the accounts for the current year. For the record, we are happy with BHP as a provider of the service, and the decision, therefore, is not a controversial one. Claire Sharp will be ready to brief the meeting should anyone need any additional information and their performance. And we then put this to the vote. Please, can you vote using the poll that will shortly appear on your screens? Apologies, I believe I should have asked Claire to add anything that she wished to add, if she wants to.
Thanks, Hannah.
Sorry,
Nothing
Claire.
specific to add. We're very happy with BHP. They provide a good service to us, but happy to answer any questions if anyone does have any.
We have 100% answers for this one.
Right, yes, it's just come up in front of me now. Thank you very much. So we've got 91% in favour and 9% abstain. Right, on to the next item on the agenda, resolution 2, approval of the Board of Trustees. So, bear with, a little bit complicated. Resolution 2 appoints the Board of Trustees for 24-25. Now, Mark Knight has already been elected by a ballot of members to the position, but now, by convention, the members now have to vote on the board as a whole. We still have a vacancy for honorary treasurer, which we are still working to fill. So actually, if anybody knows anybody who'd like to do some voluntary work as a treasurer, please point them in our direction. The other thing that we want to bring to your attention actually is the fact that for the first time this year, I have decided, well, along with Phil and the other board members, to trial having the chair of trustees not be the president. The reason for doing this is because I would like to spend more time with the members and working on a leadership strategy on how IPEM delivers its mission and vision. And so therefore, Jason Wild, one of our non-member trustees, has agreed to chair alongside for the next 12 months until Mark becomes president, and then he can make a decision as to whether or not he wants to carry on that. Jason will now come on the line if he's there, and he'll tell you a bit more about himself. But he's an absolutely fabulous bloke, and I love working with him, and I think this is a really great idea for the lease trial for the next 12 months. Jason.
Anna, thank you. And if my camera could show me blush, I would be blushing tremendously. Phil has actually given me 4 questions, and what I was going to do was just try and answer those 4 questions that Phil had asked to this AGM, just to give you a bit of background about who I am. So one of the first questions was, who am I? So my name is Jason Wild. I'm currently an independent trustee of the organisation. My background actually is in physics and engineering. I have an undergrad in electrical and electronic engineering, and my PhD is in molecular engineering, of all things. After my PhD, I actually moved into academic publishing for my sins. And in the late 90s, I joined the Institute of Physics in the UK. And during that time, I actually worked on, as an editor, some of the IPEM journals. So I have knowledge of IPEM and their journals going back many, many years. Since the IOP, I've worked at a number of organizations in publishing, around the UK and in the US, both at Nature Publishing Group, the American Institute of Physics. I'm currently with a publisher called Taylor and Francis. And in my past, I have also been the chair of the International Association of STM Publishers, which is the organization that operates and acts on behalf of all publishers globally. That's a bit of background about me, where I come from, all my experiences. Phil also asked, what's my experience of serving on the board? What's been good and what's not been good? Well, everything's been good. There's been nothing not good, but I will try and answer that question in a little bit more detail. I've been a trustee for the last 3 years, and my honest personal experience is that the board is really focused as a group on the development of IPEM and passionately supports IPEM's mission. And I think this is a really strong point of the board. Additionally, I think the board really does support and has a strong, close relationship with staff, which I think is outstanding. And for some places that I've seen or worked with, that isn't always the case. Where I think, the things that we really need to focus on going forward, and one of the things I'd love to work with Anna on this year and as a trustee work with Mark on in the future, is ensuring that our long-term strategy and plans really have the resources they need to work, and that we as a board are tracking that in detail and have a real understanding of what value we're adding by the investments we're making. I also think there are a few opportunities that the board really can be thinking about. As you know, Phil will be stepping down this year, and we have a real process in place to actually find a good recruitment or a good replacement for Phil, which is not going to be an easy task. And one of the roles over the next 12 months as the interim chair is to support that position as it comes in. We also need to address the ongoing challenges of the membership and to really help and build the bond between members, volunteers and the societies, and ensure that we remain relevant and ensure that we are continuing to serve you as members in what you need us to be doing. And finally, just a little bit left field, I actually think there are opportunities to look beyond the UK. IPEM has historically been very UK-centric. I think we have very strong journals, we have very strong books. Are there opportunities to look wider? Are there opportunities for IPEM to play a place or have a place on the global stage and attract more global members? And I think those are some of the challenges that we could and should be looking forward to be doing. And the last bit is, why me? Well, I've been in academic publishing for many years. I've worked with many academic societies. I love supporting societies. I love working with societies. It's what actually gets me up in the morning and gets me excited about what I do. I have a scientific background. I have a business background as well, and I have a strategic development background. And I think these are skills that can really help the trustees and help the chair as the chair becomes acclimatized and help staff. And I think these are the things that really just attracted me just stepping in and helping out over the next 12 months. I'll stop at that point. If anybody's got any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, Jason. I didn't know that about your scientific background. I don't know why I didn't know that, but thank you very much for sharing. And I echo everything that you've said. So for those of you listening in, of course, we now have to vote on that resolution, and that poll will shortly appear on your screens. Okay, it's still going on. Okay, I think everyone who's going to vote has voted. So it's 94% in favour and 3% not in favour and 3% who abstain. Please feel free to comment or ask questions if you think that our proposition for an interim chair is not what you were hoping for. Do get in touch with us. Happy to discuss. So is it okay to move on to the, yeah, okay. So I think this is where I take control. Right, I believe I now have control. So I'm going to present the annual report and accounts review of the year. I'll be headlining, but there'll also be our other board members who will be presenting their pieces of information. Right, okay. So the first thing I wanted to start off with is that we had some IPEM elections. For the first time in decades, we actually had a vote for president between two candidates, which was incredibly exciting and actually part of one of my, we call it a manifesto. I was really, really pleased about that and delighted that we had two excellent candidates but delighted that Mark will be joining us as president-elect, and he'll be talking later on this evening about what he's planning to do. We also had 4 candidates for Deputy Director of Steric, which is amazing. And 2 candidates come forward for VP for Medical Physics. The only thing that I was slightly disappointed about was that we still don't have enough women in senior positions. That's volunteer positions at IPEM. And you know, for these deputy director, for instance, in some cases we had no women applying, and which doesn't really reflect the at least 40-60 split that we have in membership. And really, I want people for our members to realise that, you know, age and stage in career shouldn't be a barrier to applying for any of these volunteer positions. And even if you're just thinking about it as an idea, maybe in the next few years, just email me and I'll be absolutely happy to talk to you. I joined IPEM back in the 90s and I've sort of dipped in and out, but it's always been incredibly interesting, fruitful, exciting, and also incredibly amazing for my own career development as well. So please do sort of think about it. The other thing, oh sorry, I need to just checking that's the right way. Yes, sorry. The next thing we did, which was really exciting, was we had a revamp of the IPEM Awards. I know Mohammed's going to tell us a bit more about that. But just to, again, we've got three groups within our community. We have academic members, people who come from healthcare, but we also wanted to have an IPEM Award directed at innovation. So we have now not just 1 gold medal, but 6 for outstanding contributions to the field. We also have awards around early career, and outreach and patient benefit awards, and also wanted to bring your attention to the fact that we, as an organisation, are also applying for network awards. We put in an application with the Physics of Life Network to support their work, and also to ARIA, which unfortunately we weren't successful for, as a network to disseminate knowledge, and that was all about linking commercial companies with healthcare providers, and being able to foster that collaborative spirit, and which I really think that is something that we need to really foster and encourage, because we really are this wonderful crucible, if you like, or hub of these 3 different areas of industry, healthcare and academia, where we can come together and build something much bigger than better than the sum of our parts. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about was the fact that we held our strategy day, or a strategy day, this time last year. And we were able to identify under our grand challenges. And if you haven't read the strategy already, do go online, because it's a lovely piece of work by Jane Cannon. And we identified 3 grand challenges around climate change, workforce and clinical safety. And if you hadn't noticed already, we do in fact have working groups around that. So we have our environmental sustainability group, we have our workforce group, and clinical safety and security sort of morphed into the AI working group, which of course has clinical safety and security embedded within it. And of course, we then have these cross-cutting emerging trends, which I think is really nice about how, you know, we need to sort of collaborate better with each other, align with each other. You know, we have these different disciplines, but actually we're all moving in the same direction. Smart digitization, personalized health. And I hope that you'll have noticed that this year's annual Congress, STEF, supports this cross-cutting thinking by aligning the proffered standards, proffered abstracts and keynote speakers alongside the grand challenges rather than our traditional discipline-specific themes that we've had in the past. If you could bear with me a moment, I think I may have missed a slide, which I would like to go back to, which I think is at the, not sure how I go back. Oh, sorry. There we go, I found the... Oh no, that's okay. That's fine. But I also wanted to highlight, sorry, that we have put in a new learning management system, and that's all around our investment in training and education, professional development. We are doing things like interacting with the school, because I know that's something that's very important to you, the National School of Healthcare Sciences and SDP training, etc. And our current VP of Medical Physics has been working really hard on that, and we'll be passing us over to the next VP of Medical Physics. And we've also, excitingly, and we're still looking for people to join as the Future Skills Commission to understand challenges and responsibilities with regard to our workforce. But also on top of all of this is to expand our membership into the academic sector. And so we're working to understand better how to tailor our current offerings to their specific needs, if different. So finally, how is this all relevant to you? So what can you do to be part of the IPEM 2020? Oh, that should say part of 2025. I'm so sorry. So first of all, go read the strategy documents. Oh, and also if you haven't already, please read the Darcy report. And then note what resonates with you. And then if there are some things that really sort of spark some interest, just email me directly and Mark, and we'll love to talk to you about it and point you in the right direction, signpost you. And this is all about our efforts to re-engage with the membership. There's no us and them. We are you, you are us. And Mark and I would love to talk to you. Please get in contact. So thanks very much. I'm going to pass on now. Oh, yes, I'm supposed to invite questions. I am sorry. Has anyone written any questions in the chat? Doesn't look like it at the moment, but please do. Yes, exactly, we do. We welcome the Darcy report and we are ready. So if I hand the screen back to stop remote control.
Anna, are you ready to hand over to John for his presentation?
I believe so. I was just waiting to see if there's any more chat questions come in, but it doesn't look like there's any. And thank you very much for everyone who's posted the links to things that I referred. Phil.
Great. We're monitoring the chat all the time, so if any questions come up, we can pick them up at a suitable moment.
Okay, then that's absolutely fine. John, please go ahead and tell everyone about the financial report.
Good evening, everyone. Finance is, of course, merely the enabler of all the exciting things that Anna has been talking about, Jason's been talking about, and no doubt Mark and everyone else is going to talk about later on. But in order to make investments in future exciting projects, we need to start from a robust place. And I believe that we are in such a robust place. So without further ado, we'll sort of just skim through the highlights of the finance for the year. So move the slide. There we go. So if 23, another solid year. Good performance with our scientific publications. Marginally ahead of last year, but without reaching the record achieved in 2021. Now, you may recall 2021 was the second year of the COVID lockdown, and people were, I think, using the time that they were forced to self-isolate to actually catch up on their scientific reading. So maybe there is a factor there. Or maybe, and I think we'll need to see this over the future years, whether the trend for subscription model of publication is perhaps on the turn. Who knows? But it was a very, very good year. Membership income slightly ahead of the prior year. Many more meetings, and in particular restarting the big IPEM event with Steph in Glasgow in February. I mean, it seems a bit odd now to speak, 18 months ago, but it was an exciting new thing, and I think you're all looking forward to doing it all over again in 3 weeks' time in London. The grants, as Anna mentioned, we have made a number of grants. From an accounting perspective, some of those have actually technically slipped into 2024, because although we had the intent to make the awards, because we haven't actually awarded them to anybody in particular as at the end of 23, it'll come out of this year's results rather than last year. So there's a sort of slight gain there. But all in all, if you look at the results before the things that we don't control, which is our investment portfolio, the deficit was modest, 167. It was certainly less than we had planned for, but that was we had such a good performance on our investment portfolio that actually, although we anticipated ending up in a loss position, we've ended up in a positive position. So I'm moving on to the next slide. So you'll have seen this in the summary report that's gone out. So what I mean by this is that the little blob here on the right here, I don't know if you can see my arrow, has ended up as a positive number rather than the negative we budgeted for. So we've ended up in a stronger position than we'd anticipated. We look down a little bit further. So where does all our income come from? You'll have seen this from the summary report that has been circulated as well. It kind of has that that familiar look to it, which is a very, very large part of the income coming from one particular source, which is the journals, and then two other blobs being the membership subscription and the meetings. But if you actually look in a bit more detail, you're beginning to see that actually year on year, although the overall shape hasn't changed a huge amount, there is an increase in training, there is an increase in events, and there is a decrease on publishing as a percentage of the whole. So we are, things are beginning to move in the direction we want them to move into, which is reduce our reliance on publications and increase our other sources of income across the board. And so where does that take us overall? If we kind of look at where this all takes, what it all looks like when you put it together. This is the first year we've started looking at the accounts and the data, if you like, activity by activity. And I think this is the first time we've shared this sort of data with you. But it goes, we are still in a phase where we make a lot of money on publishing, which we use to subsidize more or less everything else. And that includes, obviously the very large unit we have, which we've all lumped together under policy and impact, which is a vital part of what you, the members, tell us we should be doing and are doing. and we were investing in, we run the events. There is a fee for attending the events, but overall we do make a small loss on it. But so that sort of, I think, helps you sort of picture together. The commercial hasn't quite taken off yet, so you kind of think, why would you have a commercial arm which doesn't actually make any money? I think there's a large part of that is really the timing, in that we invested and put the resource into it, and they haven't really had time to actually demonstrate what they're worth yet, and hopefully that'll start moving in 2024. So I'm going to say a few words about our investments. So this, of course, is as you may recall, that we have a couple of million pounds which are invested, have been invested for a number of years now. The aim was to put some money away, protect it from inflation, in order to be able to deploy it at a later phase when we kind of had the opportunity to do so. And of course, this should probably have happened a couple of years ago, but everything came to a grinding halt during COVID, and we continued to accumulate rather than invest. But the last year, meaning 23, the current year 24, and going forward, this investment is happening. Last year I reported a sort of disappointing performance on the portfolio, which suffered like everyone else, so all the world events, Ukraine, etc., etc. This year I'm pleased to say that it has more than compensated for the loss last year. Ever since we started investing in 2016, the annualized return has been a shade below 8%. That compares to the RPI as opposed to CPI, which over the period has been a shade under 6%. So all in all, objective achieved in terms of what it was for and what it's done. We will, going forward, be drawing on that, and that is going to start imminently, I think, as the investments really start ramping up. And we start putting taking resource out of the portfolio and into the activities. And all this sort of is in the context of a reserves level, which is actually healthy. If you look at the cumulative surplus on the balance sheet, we've got 4 million in there. Now, 200,000 of that is money that people, namely the government, really have given to us in order to put into certain activities which haven't necessarily fully happened yet. And then some of that is actually funding our fixed assets. Fixed assets means the building in York. It means the investment in the membership platform, the website, etc. And we still have some money which we have. This is what I call a designated reserve. In fact, it's, from the accountan's perspective, is called designated because it's money that's been put aside by the trustees at some point in the past in order to invest going forward. So it is there to be used. And that, even if you take that into account, we've still got free reserves, which are in excess of our target operating reserves. So when we say we are investing for the future, and we do expect a fairly sharp increase in the if you like, the loss for 2024, we have the bandwidth to absorb that quite comfortably. So I feel, as I step down, that we are in a very comfortable position, and I hope that just summarize here. But 2023 we're in a robust position, and we are in a good shape going forward. On a personal note, I'd just like to put on record that it's been an honour and a privilege to have served on your board, initially as an independent trustee, and then for the last 5 years as your treasurer. I've met a hugely committed bunch of professionals, keen to drive their profession, their skills forward, and I wish you all very well in the future. So I'd now like to invite questions through the chat, if I may. I can't actually see any coming up, but that doesn't necessarily mean there aren't any.
Anna, if I may just take the opportunity then of no questions to say to John on behalf of the staff that we're extremely grateful for your contribution to IPEM over the years. You've been an absolute pleasure and a joy to work with, both on the board and on the Finance Business Planning Committee as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I echo everything that Phil has just said, and I personally will miss your input, John. Very much so. Oh,
well, like Jason,
make
I'm
me
going to
cry.
start blushing now, so I think thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item 8 is the Science and Technology, Engineering, Research and Innovation Council, STERIC. Mohammed Almari, please would you give us a summary of your last year? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Anna, and thank you everyone for attending this AGM meeting. So I will try to give our annual report for what we have really been doing on STERIC. So it's just a quick reminder for people about what it's really STERIC and how it's really operate and what its really main function we do. It's basically it tries to deliver and review of the science leadership strategy by going through a number of tasks and to work with other council and other members within IPEM to go through this. Just to find the slides. Okay. Membership. So this year, so we have expanded our memberships where I managed to work with other members to recruit 2 members, and I'm pleased as well to see we have really increased the number of women representations in STERIC, and this is really a good way forward for us to be inclusive in our membership and to see. And I also it's the coming director, it's also a female, which is also, this is very good representation to us. However, I still feel we need to work a bit more to be more inclusive in terms of our membership, and especially for people or for minority groups and minority members such as IPEM members. So IPEM actually on top of this, and they are working towards improving their diversity and inclusivity in all memberships. So my leadership strategy has always been to really listen to people. And this is when, for those who attended the AGM last year, so I used a link and we distributed that link for a few weeks to provide members to provide their voice and to listen to them in order to inform us what we should really focus on. And there were two simple questions about what really members want or would like to see us doing to improve research and innovation within IPEM, and what are the biggest challenges in research and innovation members they face. A number of people responded to these 2 questions, and here I'm sharing the key themes and the key comments really we received from people, where it was very obvious they wanted us to focus a bit about research and innovation and how to facilitate that, and how also to empower our members to do research in their facilities and to improve our and to improve their knowledge as well about funding, and also to provide, sorry, it's just annoying, this slide. And it's also how to make that connections between academic and clinical groups, so that, for example, students can be used to initiate research or help problems. And in reality, it's about really how to increase that interdisciplinary work among the members and also other institutions. So, of course, the biggest challenges, as we know, especially for those who are working in a clinical practice, and even in academia nowadays, it becomes a bit more challenging. There is crazy demand, the demands really increased, I think, for all of us, both in academic side and also in the NHS. So that is really funding is the issue as well. It's how we need to buy our time to do research. Taking all these in consideration and listening to our members. So our theme for the 23-24 was really how to develop research and innovation within IPEM. And we set 3 or 4 aims to try to achieve, which is first to look at the infrastructure for research and innovation, and to try to do this as well and to work collaboratively in terms of running workshops, and to think about how we can also disseminate research, and to try to develop some supporting work, or to support members if they want to work and to improve research and innovation in developing countries. Now, we actually took an action where we looked at our existing grants and what we have really been doing and how things worked. So as you know, we have been running innovation grants for a number of years, and also over the last 3 years, IPEM ran IPEM PhD degree in work bursary, and then after 2 years, after the 2 years we reviewed this, and we made it's actually for any research degree, not just PhD. But it was poorly. We haven't really received applications, and it was really poorly received from a number of members. But what we did, we looked at this in depth, and we understand what are the challenges with 5 grants to do PhD whilst you are still doing the work. And also we reviewed the application for the innovation grants, where it's mainly, as I highlighted here, it was mainly focusing on equipment or service to facilitate short-term innovation with only 10K. So we brought all these together, and we looked at what we can really do, because we also believe the healthcare really changing, and we must ensure that medical physics and engineering are recognized and valued for their current and future contribution, as well for historical achievements. So what we have done, so we come with the 3 schemes, which is in line with many other funding bodies across the UK. This is not unique for only unique for IPEM. So I will go through this in details briefly. So the first one, interdisciplinary seed corn scheme. This one is actually to support the members to work with interdisciplinary teams to take early phase development of new and innovative research projects, and also to enable members to work across other stakeholders like the academia, NHS, clinical engineer, scientist, or industry. The only condition we required for this one is actually just the application to be led by an IPEM member. This was in line, again, as I said, with other funding bodies. So the fund, I think £25,000 for 1 year, with the hope actually to see how these people, they will take it all to take it forward and to seek further funding. The other one, it's first into research fellowship scheme. So I was mindful about people, they might never done research before, they didn't really, and also difficult to do research whilst they are focusing on their clinical duties in the NHS. So we thought like, well, we should really help our colleagues and the IPEM's members to dedicate time to perform an innovative or research projects with higher education institution. So we allocated £15,000 for people to take to support their time and to buy their time to spend 1 day a week for maximum 12 months to do research. The third scheme was the Translation Knowledge Exchange and Training Scheme, which is, again, this is about empowering members to link with the translational academy, industry, or clinical partners. So this is about really building that relationship and to address, in response to the feedback we received, it's actually how we can help our members to connect with other institutions and even with other members across different institutions. So this is mainly was to enable external visits to a translational partner, or even to just go to visit or to bring people to your institution to help you to develop new skills, or even you to go and to share your knowledge with other institutions. So we allocated £5,000 for this. Now, in line with this changes, so we also looked at how we really worked in the past, and we learned from our process, and we introduced a new we restructured the way how we worked. So we looked at the historic, where to look at the research and innovation, and then the prize and award committee used to be a separate committee. So we brought this to work directly under the historic, but it's also to be representative and to be led by the VIP for academic. And also alongside, so we looked at we established a scientific panel of experts, which might be also included not only members, it's also to include including non-IPEM members, in order to undertake scientific peer review process. And this is also, it was just to tell people outside and to promote what we are really doing to people from outside our membership cohort. So and the process is, once we receive the application, so the prize and award committee will look at these applications, and then they allocate 2 people to review these applications, and either this will be reviewed by the prize and awards committee or from the IPEM of experts, and then the committee will make the decisions or recommend the decision to STERIC, who will ratify the final decision. So we also improved the applications as well. So we make the application more in line with all these changes, and it's also to enable us to track what is really happening and what we have really been supporting in IPEM, and to see where our supported research going and how our members really progressing. And the other objective, it was carried on from last year. I was working with other members on how we need to improve really the publications schemes, not for the journals, this is for the reports mainly. And we established the publication subcommittee, and it is led by the editor-in-chief of IPEM Scientific Report Series, and it consists of a number of members, and it is there now, and they are functioning. And I'm really pleased to see this is now ongoing. And as John presented, publication, it's one of the important things for us. So I think we make this subcommittee to work now towards that direction. So we'll see and review this in the next few months, how this work. Sorry, this. So finally, we thought it is really important to keep our work going on research and innovation. So the theme, it will be really how to develop opportunities for members to contribute to the IPEM science and technology strategy. So in October, I'm running a workshop about writing for research grants. So this will be run as part of the STIF as a workshop, and this is part of really helping and empowering our members to improve their research and innovation. So our next 24-25 plan will be focusing mainly on grant development and research management workshops, develop opportunities of networking with the wider healthcare research community in UK and abroad, and fosters innovation with support research and innovation in developing countries when it is possible. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohammed. Please put any questions in the chat. That would be great. Moving swiftly on, I'm going to ask Robin to step in for Carl, and he's going to give us a wrap up of 2023 Professional Standards Council report. Thank you, Robin.
Hi, I'm just requesting some control. Thanks. Apologies from Carl. He is currently kayaking in a Norwegian fjord. I am Robin McDade. I'm the deputy of PSC. And if I can make sure this works, great. So first off, to introduce who we are and how PSC actually operates. So it's member-led and it's a diverse bunch, which you can find the list on our website, published. And we're staff managed. I think it's important to say just how much heavy lifting that the national office really does in terms of ongoing support and keeping the wheels on us. Yeah, it must be like herding. We have a work plan. Our terms of reference cover the following areas. So that's training, education, training, accreditation, continuing professional development, membership and registration, workforce and standards. And we have many task and finish groups which spawn off from PSC and then report back to PSC. So you can see it's quite a broad range that we oversee. I think I've gone too far. There we go. Back to this slide. This is an example from part of our large action list. And you can see that we keep our action list tied to our terms of reference and stop mission creep. These are the kinds of things we will do. So there's been the recent contrast training for clinical technologists, the clinical scientist guided training scheme, development of workshop days, formalizing relationships with the ACS or with the national school. And I want to point out who's responsible. Sorry, yeah, I'll try and get that a little bit closer. I want to point out who's responsible. NO means National Office. So as you can see, the National Office does do a great deal of heavy lifting on PSC. Quote from Carl. I'm not exactly sure what he meant by this, but I think it does mean that it's a diverse group from diverse backgrounds, from diverse disciplines, and often robust discussion takes place over the correct and the way forward, plotting a way forward in PS. Let's get down to the brass tacks of some of the things that we have actually delivered or approved. So here are some of the proposals that we've approved. Task and finish group for the practical implementation of clinical risk management standards. A new clinical engineering staffing level guidance group, so a sort of workforce calculator. Some work from the course accreditation committee who've got an eye to how things are changing on the landscape when it comes to what we are accrediting and how that landscape is developing and changing. The STP training guide review, we approved a task and finish group. And of course, the Future Skills Commission, which I think we've mentioned, but we'll come back to a little bit later. We approved their terms of reference. Some of the documents approved by PSC. So again, workforce calculator, the ultrasound workforce calculator was approved for distribution. The early careers panel updated their terms of reference. A foundational document, I believe, the roadmap for advancing clinical technology careers, developed by Jemima and the policy and impact team, which has been approved. The role of clinical and scientific computing and medical physics and clinical engineering, again, policy statement reviewed, and an advice notice that we're on the production and sharing of software in a medical context. That document was approved and shared. PSC also deals with requests for consultations. We responded to the NHS Constitution of England consultation and approved the response to the RCR guidance on AI auto contouring. And in other work, It's one bullet point: review and modernisation of our successful IPEM clinical technologist training scheme. But it's a grand amount of work, which is going to take about 6 months to finalise and to achieve. Oversight and update of the ACS medical physics and clinical engineering specific competencies document here, short-term task and finished. A review of the training program for MPE and how to get it. One of our workshops, our next slide, the advert for the workshop. And of course, we have had our first IV contrast training for clinical technologists, which was an online workshop delivered nationally, well attended, with representation of centres across the UK. And interestingly, about half were non-IPEM members. So we are starting to reach groups and with skills that they need that are not necessarily. It's obviously the advert for the upcoming. Workforce Intelligence Unit produces reports which are overseen by PSE. And that's carried out by part of the policy and impact team. And that's the reports reviewed and approved. And of course, there's the workforce surveys that are carried out by the Intelligence Unit and reviewed and approved by PSE. And there's 2 upcoming, one in clinical engineering and one in clinical and scientific. And I want to finish with the Future Skills Commission, which of course is to try and understand the challenges, the current challenges of the workforce and the future challenges of the workforce, or even what the workforce will look like. To try and design and develop IPEM's offering in terms of training or accreditation for the future, and to prioritize what we should be doing. We had our first meeting recently, and it's important to say we're already a really quite diverse group, and we're hoping to diversify further. We focused on what are our current missed opportunities, what are the current problem areas in the workforce, across the workforce, what steps do we need to gain success in the future. And to my surprise, and I think it is surprising to get a room full of people from diverse backgrounds, we had consistent suggestions or consistent solutions in similar areas. So we now have an initial framework for action, which involves research initiatives to do further scoping, raising the profile of medical physics and clinical engineering, and there's very specific suggestions around about that, and to develop education career frameworks. So, for example, it's stunning that there is no education career framework for technologists, but to do that for each of our disciplines in each of our areas, so that we can map from early to late career what should our offerings be, or where are there gaps where we can support the workforce. And to think about new modes of engagement, it's pointed out that we tend to get some of our best expertise and put them in groups like SIGs, but then the SIGs tend to get pinned down by a variety of work that comes into the SIG nationally, rather than being an outgoing, an example would be if we had a group, maybe it could be a short-term group or a medium-term group, who would feed into important national conferences or meetings, whether that be a group going there to represent IPEM, to represent the workforce and the needs of the workforce, even in terms of papers and chairs or organization. That kind of thing, a very different view. And I hope that gives us a flavor. I will stop there. And any questions?
Anna, can I just take this opportunity to thank Robin and for stepping in at the last minute for Carl, or relatively last minute for Carl, and giving a great update there, but also particularly to thank Mohammed, who is stepping down from the board as well this year, on behalf of all the staff that worked with him over the last couple of years in his role as Director of Steric.
Yes, thank you. I meant to say that before, Mohammed. Thank you so much. And I really enjoyed working with you the last year, couple of years actually, when I was President-elect as well. and Robin, I look forward to working with you more. And now we're going to move on to, I think, which is a sort of new piece that we want to do for AGM, which is to get the senior volunteers, those who are available, of course, to come and talk to you about what they've been doing this year. We're going to start off with Mark Knight. Then we're going to speak to Fiumetta Fidele, who's the new director of STERIC, who's taking over from Mohammed. Matt Dunn, who's been around us nearly as long as I have. No, as long as I have, I think, Matt, is going to tell you about what he's been up to. And then we have two new VPs, Xavier Golay and Ian Threlkeld, who will be telling you a little bit about what they hope to do as well. So I'm going to hand over to Mark first.
If I could just say briefly, we are running a little bit over time and people are leaving the meeting. So if we could keep questions in the chat, that would be most helpful.
Thank you, Phil and Anna. I'll keep it relatively short then. So hi, Mark Knight, I'm the President-elect of IPEM. So by day I'm the Chief Healthcare Scientist at NHS Kent and Medway Integrated Care Board. So with a strategic view across all of the healthcare sciences, including physics and engineering, but also pathology, bioinformatics and genomics and physiological sciences. So there's some interesting synergies there between the physics and engineering professions and the other sciences too. So I've volunteered with IPEM extensively in the past, formerly Director of STRIC, VP Medical Physics, Chair of RP-SIG, for example. And I've always found that there's a great deal of value that we get from volunteering and a great deal of value delivered. So, you know, when I think about some of the programs that I've been involved with, all of them collaborative, all of them involving lots of IPEM members. You know, they've delivered the updating of e-learning for healthcare packages, for example. That's 50 separate modules in radiation protection for staff and for patients, delivery of some of the national school curricula for HSST and scientist training program. And that's what really enthuses me about working with IPEM so closely. And it's been great to hear the reflections from everybody today. In terms of what I'm excited about for the next term, I'm very interested in medical technology, artificial intelligence. I think there'll be a big change in the way we deliver healthcare in the next 10 years. And I think really physics and engineering, we should be on the front foot with these technologies. I was disappointed to be in a meeting in Kent and Medway today when one of our computer scientists was telling me that AI was springing up all over their trust and they didn't know anything about it and weren't involved. Well, that's not where we need to be as a profession. We need to be right there in the conversation. I think education and training is a big area for physics and engineering, and I was really pleased to hear Jason talking earlier about opportunities there for perhaps more global representation from IPEM. It is a highly respected and trusted organisation. I believe I worked abroad and for a few years, and IPEM's name was right there in the services outside of the UK. So I think there's some big opportunities for IPEM there, and also then just to finish, engaging with members, as many people have said today, is such an important part of what we do. You know, it's a great organisation, more than 4,500 members, and I think keeping that engagement and the enthusiasm of that big membership is key to what we do. And I'll finish there. Thank you, Phil and Anna.
No, thank you, Mark. So I'm going to hand over to Fiumetta now. Looking forward to hearing what she has to say. I'm afraid I do have to leave in about 5 minutes. I'm sorry, Fiumetta, and I'm going to hand over to Jason, who will close the meeting for us all. And I look forward to hearing from you over the next few months. So Fiumetta, would you like to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Anna. Well, I do know quite a few of you online. I've been volunteering for IPEM in different roles for a few years, and in the last couple of years been working with STERIC. And we will keep up the good work that we started in the last few years. We want to make research and innovation more inclusive. We want to make sure that also in those hospitals where there's less opportunities for being, because there's not links with academia that are already there, people have access to it, and that's you will have seen it in the way we have reviewed the awards. We will keep doing that. And also I'm looking forward to make a contribution as part of the Future Skill Commission, although I didn't get to be in the selfie because sadly I was engaged in another place that day, but my colleague Sarah Peel did represent us both from GSTT. And I'll hand it over because you've heard from me before, so no need to keep it long.
Yeah, Marta, thank you. I'm just checking now to see Anna has gone. I wasn't jumping over her. I've noticed Xavier's gone, but Matt, do you want to give us an introduction from yourself?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so hi folks. I think I know most people on the call, and as Anna said, I have been around the organisation for a number of years now. So I'm head of radiation physics at Nottingham at the minute, and I've been the VP for medical physics for the last 4 years, and I'm handing that role over shortly. And I've done a whole range of stuff for IPEM. I've been a SIG chair, I've been a Secretary of Science Board. I led the outreach group when we sort of expanded that dramatically. So obviously I start my role as a trustee as of today, which is fantastic. So I'm going to continue to try and represent people, particularly on the workforce front, which I think we're starting to have some success with that now, and also keep the networks going really. So I've managed to start a number of networks across the organisation to bring the professionals together. So probably the biggest one is the sort of heads of medical physics that we have quite a successful meeting periodically. So I'm going to keep encouraging those, and then keep a brief in terms of the workforce for my duration as a trustee. And I'm really pleased to be working with everybody. Thank you.
Matt, thank you. Appreciate that. Xavier, if you're still here. Yes, you are.
Yes, hi. Apologies, I'm about to leave as well, so it's been taking a bit too long, and I'm a bit late for my next meeting. Well, I'm just a new VP for industry. I've had a very long career as an academic in MRI physics. I've only joined IPEM last year, but decided to take on a role as a volunteer this year. My main concern is on one side to try to get MRI a bit more represented, but also speaking on behalf of all of the industry, I believe that there's a lot of work to be done on the side of AI as well, in particular, and how this is going to, and trying to make sure that if and when it is introduced into the healthcare, that it's done actually with the appropriate backing and the appropriate care that it requires, because there's still quite a lot of AI-based algorithms that are not completely understood, and it's sometimes difficult to check. So that will be my main goal when as a new VP for industry. Thank you.
So yeah, thank you. The last on the list is Ian. Ian, are you still on? Yes, you are. There you go.
Yes, I'm still here, Jason. Sorry, you've not got rid of me yet. So, hi everyone. I'm Ian Frelkels. I'm currently head of clinical engineering at Rotherham. I've been working in clinical engineering since the mid-90s. I'm registered as a chartered engineer. I'm actually registered for the Institute of Healthcare Engineering and Estate Management, IPEM, and I volunteered for that institute for a number of years. We got involved with a lot of projects that IPEM were doing, working alongside each other. I was only working with IPEM's members and IPEM staff, and I thought, actually, this aren't too bad. I'll join these as well. So I've been an IPEM member now for quite a long number of years. I've been volunteering for IPEM as well. I've just finished a role as a member trustee, come to the end of it 3 years. But the most work I've been doing with IPEM is with the RCT. I've been on the RCT management board since about 2013, and I've been the registrar since 2016. Still got another year to go before my third term of office comes to end on that. So I've volunteered to step up into the Vice President's engineering role. And one of the concerns I have with IPEM is a low number of engineers who choose to register through IPEM. I think only 2.5% of our members are actually registered with the Engineering Council as either an engineering technician, incorporated or chartered engineer. That compares to IHEM, which is my main institute, has like 25% of members who are registered with the Engineering Council. So I'd like to work with the office team to explore why that is, what can we do to make IPEM more attractive to engineers and help encourage more people to gain professional engineering registration. I was asked to keep it brief, so I won't carry on any further, and I'll hand back to you, Jason. Thank you very much.
Ian, thank you. And Mark, Fiametta, Matt, and Zoe, thank you so much for those great introductions and a great little section on the agenda. It now falls, I think there's just one more point before any other business, and that's around the chief executive. I think as I alluded to when I spoke, unfortunately, Phil will be leaving us in November to become or take on the chief executive role of the Biochemical Society. I'd like to take at this point the opportunity to thank him for all his hard work and excellence in leading IPEM over his tenure and wish him all the best for his new role in November. And if there's anything I can do to attract you back, just let me know. More than happy to do that. Moving on from that, just the replacement for Phil is a key process and one that we are starting to work through. We are working with a recruitment consultant and a team of the trustees, a small committee of trustees, are working on this recruitment process. The role is to be advertised from Friday of this week, and the aim is that the recruitment should be finished before the end of this year, with the successful candidate taking up post some point after that, but hopefully early in 2025. That said, we don't expect there to be a vacuum left, and what I'm very pleased to say is that after Phil leaves IPEM, the board, and Phil actually has recommended, which we've all unanimously agreed to, that Claire Sharp, the Deputy CEO, serves as an interim chief executive. If there are any questions on the recruitment, if there's anything anybody wants to know, please feel free to reach out to either Anna or myself. And at that point, I will pause because I know we're well over time, and just ask Phil, is there any other business that needs to be raised?
Thank you, Jason. No other business has been notified to us. So as far as I'm aware, unless there are any questions remaining, which could be put to us in the chat, perhaps, because we are, as you say, running over time, then I think that's it.
Perfect. Phil, thank you. And with that, I will draw the meeting to a close. Thank you, everybody, and see you again same time next year.